Hey everyone, Brian here, wishing you a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, depending on when you're tuning in. And I hope you've been doing well. As always, if you want to share a story, you can do so in the comments below, as we're always combing the comments, and you never know if your story will be read live. With that mushy-gushy and business talk out of the way, let's get right into it, shall we? What stunt did your D&D players pull that completely derailed the campaign? Part 3. My players were dropped onto a peninsula that was sort of like early Italy, mostly trade city-states ruled by wealthy merchant princes. One of the players wrote a bard with smithing abilities, which seemed innocent enough. The party continually ignored the mounting chaos of the world, caused by a power-hungry lich, so that the bard could convince the princes of the various cities that the jewelry he was making were ancient relics of divine kings. The campaign quickly became the party living like kings while running from the princes they had ripped off. And when they saw the main story they had been ignoring come true while they were occupied, an eldritch portal was destroying the world and eating it, they proceeded to spend all of their money on luxuries and drank poison so they would die before the portal made it to them, surrounded by wealth and opulence. I had a goblin player whom, before the first fight even started, broke his own back. We had to spend the next 2 sessions making everything in a city wheelchair accessible so he could keep playing. Kinda ruined a fight with the big bad evil guy later on, because my plan with him was that I would break all their legs and forgot about it until the fight came. Didn't have a backup plan, so I played him as an idiot who didn't know what wheelchairs are, and the goblin bard solo killed the big bad evil guy because of some homebrew rules. One of my best D&D moments. My players decided that it would be a good idea to cast Burning Hands on a pack full of dynamite, underground, in a tiny side chamber. So that was a party wipe. The next few sessions involved the cleric's gods giving them tests in the underworld in order to return to the world of the living. So they succeeded and resurrected the corpses of fallen warriors as zombies. They figure they need to find a necromancer to help them get their real bodies back and head towards the nearest city. There's a war going on, so of course the big bad evil guy hires necromancers. Unfortunately, they figure out too late that, though they can talk to each other, the living only hears zombie moans. Oh, and I made them roll for zombie hunger every now and then. So the wizard, who hasn't been able to regain spell slots, burns his last spell to cast Alter Self, and they walk right in the front gate after eating the faces off some random farmers and alerting the town's watch. Naturally, they get caught, because he altered himself to look like a well-known enemy general, so everyone recognized him and wanted to chat. Naturally. Fortunately, it was the necromancer that caught them, and they were captured and taken to her tower. You know, the necromancer they figured would be able to help them? Yeah, that one. They proceeded to cast fire all over the tower because cantrips. Necromancer leaves to let them throw their little tantrum, comes back later. One zombie snaps at Necromancer, so Necromancer punches it, the cleric. Cleric succeeds the next bite roll and effectively dooms the Necromancer to turning into a zombie as well. Necromancer does the smart thing and informs the authorities, and boards herself up in the tower. My players got to watch as the one person who could help them turned, and just stood there for the next several years, swaying and making zombie noises. So, that was the end of that campaign. Literally derailed 2 sessions and by an idiot with fire. I ran a game once that started players off at an adventuring school. They were eventually supposed to discover corruption, figure out that one of their teachers was actually one of the campaign's primary villains, and side against him for the greater good. When the time came to do exactly that, one of my players instead chose to betray the massively powerful NPC that was opposed to the villain, on the grounds that he had thought the villain had made some excellent points during his speech. So, while pretending to help the injured NPC up, he stabbed him in the heart. Exhausted and injured, the NPC was already almost dead, so it was pretty much an instant kill. And that's how all my players threw away 3 months of pre-planned sessions in 30 seconds. My character had, in her backstory, gotten an envelope containing a single card of the deck of many things from her mentor, instructed to never open that envelope. Oh my god, this is gonna end so fucking bad. In our fight against a lieutenant of the big bad evil guy, our tank got vaporized and everything looked lost, so I pulled the card. Immediately lost my soul and the group. Oh my god, I knew it. That defeated the lieutenant literally 1 round after I seppuku'd. Had to go to the equivalent of the Mariana Trench to get my soul back from some cursed pirate ship. Took just about 2 sessions, but only because my DM was kind enough to cut some of the travel short. In-game, it took the better part of a month. I remember when my party was engaged with an Etten in an underground temple that was falling apart. We were all low-level characters, probably 4th level if I recall. My rogue half-elf got too close and ended up getting knocked to the ground with less than half her hit points, while the Etten still had most of his. He had class levels, damn it. Well, in the next round, my rogue played dead while the rest of my party were getting their asses handed to them. I rolled for a check and succeeded. On the next round, I rolled again to maintain my deception. Our cleric goes down, and our fighter is about to drop. My character then raises her rapier, lodged it in the Etten's foot, nat 20 on the first roll. I roll again to confirm, nat 20 again. DM makes me roll a 3rd time, nat 20. I instantly killed the Etten. Our DM lost it. He ripped up his papers with the Etten's stats, which said it still had more than half its hit points. To this day, Pinky, my lucky 20-sided die named after the ghost from Pac-Man, is banned from all future games run by my DM. I accidentally gave my party the idea of burning down a big goblin fort made out of wood when it looked like we were about to get our asses killed, in which I believe we were supposed to be captured and taken to some baddies for a dialogue session in the dungeon. The fort was on a little island with a little bridge. We destroyed the bridge while fleeing and the entire island was on fire. The NPCs were critical to the next part of the campaign. I apologized for not realizing that the party was more than happy to potentially burn my character alive in the process of this, and thought we could try to use it as a bargaining chip. Silly me. Edit. Yes, it was the goddamn wizard that did this. I used 7 magic coins in a wishing well to eliminate an entire story arc. I wished for possession of and complete control of the Obsidian Arc, an elven wingship in another character's backstory. My DM tore 5 pages out of his binder and threw them to the floor in disgust. I guess the next arc was trying to retrieve that boat. Smiley face. In my 2nd ever session of D&D, our wizard, who was having an argument with our halfling rogue about being greedy, threw a bag of holding at our rogue who was pouting inside our chest of holding. With the wizard's 7 strength, she missed, and instead threw it into the chest and got the whole party, minus my character, who was busy having a moral crisis right outside the door, sucked into the astral sea a day before an army would attack our castle in order to steal a powerful orb with the power to rewrite time. My poor bard, designed to function as a cleric since the group's cleric quit playing and thus my PC had pretty weak attacking spells and mostly support spells, was the sole character left behind to fight the equivalent of 5 minor bosses all by herself. Our DM had to pull some major strings to get the other PCs to appear halfway through the fight, so we didn't lose the campaign. And also so the new player, me, wouldn't have her PC killed permanently due to the lack of revivify spells available. This happened very recently. We have a wizard that has wind powers and a doppelganger that can copy anyone's power for a limited time. We just released a dwarf from a gang of kobolds and convinced him to build a boat for us. The original path that we were supposed to take was to follow down the river, but everyone for some reason decided to sail against the current. The wizard used wind magic alternating with the doppelganger, and my berserker rode that ship as hard as he could. We all got high rolls too, never failed in action. The DM somehow crashed our boat into an underground tower where we were supposed to get help from a forest witch, but we instead convinced the dwarf to repair the boat and continued climbing the river. At some point, some merfolk boarded us to offer help, but the doppelganger just sliced all of them with his axe, and this made the dwarf incredibly pissed. Our wizard tried to throw the dwarf into the river, and this caused the boat to flip. We swam up the rest of the river to reach the last location, skipping most of the campaign, and having to fight an undead dragon. We won. DM could not believe we actually pulled that off. I was the player that was supposed to be the big bad evil guy. The party came to know this way earlier than expected. My guy, a cleric, who was supposed to be a homebrew corruption cleric, was there to follow the main party as they were exploring dungeons, gathering relics, and other stuff. My guy was supposed to steal said relics and use them to go against the party. The problem was that if he touched one of these relics before the set time, he would reveal his true, weakened form. As to awaken his true form, you needed all 8 relics. The worst part was that all of the relics gave bonuses to everyone inside of the party except the cleric, albeit the last relic available. The bard in our party was the smartest player that I'd ever seen, as after only 3 artifacts, giving the entire party one except my cleric, they decided that the 4th was going to be mine no matter what. When the time came, my guy decided to refuse it. Alright, so this went to the ranger. 5th went to the rogue, 6th went to the paladin, and when came time for the 7th, the bard. The fucking bard decided to try out something that they wondered since my character was introduced as a normal cleric. They decided to use sleight of hand to force my character to touch one of the relics. With my character succeeding the save, the whole party decided to do the same. Cue the rogue landing something like 11. There was no way for me to fail it now. 1. I rolled a dang 1. My guy revealed his true form to the entire party, and now, instead of finding the last relic, the party uses the 7 that they have in their possession and decide that it's about time they handle this guy's situation. Instead of killing him, they forced him into a cage, placed him in the middle of the capital, and used him to gain money. 1 gold per stick. You get 10 pokes per stick. The party made way too much money before my guy managed to set himself free and gather the last relic. But by that time, the bard had already switched out the real relic with a fake one, and the fake one just had a teleportation ability that would put my guy back in the capital behind even stronger bars. Oh, that's brilliant. Since my guy was immortal in terms of aging, even to this day, since the campaign stays in the same world unless it's destroyed, the great-great-great-great-grandchildren of that party is having fun poking him while the generation before are living peacefully under the wealth that was gained. He was also named Sir Loserton of McButthurt, written in bold letters with a gold plate right in front of his cage. Bonus! In the current campaign, the party didn't explore the cage until, much later. They were surprised to know that the guy is now gone. This time, the DM had plans to make the character come back as a final encounter, and with no possible way to encounter him beforehand, unless they get, extremely lucky with the D100, hitting 100 for the event, and everyone rolls a nat 20 at the same time, excluding me. One time, we were about 3 sessions into playing through a flashback sequence that took place about 1,000 years before our current campaign timeline. On impulse, one of my buddies rolled a nat 20 on an attack toward a main elf NPC that was giving us an important quest, just because he wanted to. In the flashback, all of our characters were level 20, perfect versions of our current characters. My buddy was a barbarian with ridiculous strength. Long story short, not only was this NPC important / critical to the story, our healer rolled a nat 1 trying to revive him, as did another character attempting the save. We tried several more things that didn't work and ended up burning down his house too, with him inside. How? How the fuck? As a result, thanks to our heartless mage that liked to abuse the fireball spell, okay. So anyway, this main NPC died 1,000 years before our campaign, thus changing the events and timelines of our campaign, and messing up almost everything between human and elf relations once we return to the present day. #barbarians.